Hello, hello. This is Yuri with Let's Talk Moving Podcast, the moving sales professionals. And with me today, by popular demand, I have Lorne Maclnnes with Ferguson. How are
Morning,
you?
Yuri. How's it going? Good. How are you?
Good, good, good. It's good to have you again. Thank you so much. Okay, so since we talked last time, tell me what has changed for you.
Yeah. Well, it's just, it's been interesting with the interest rates. I think everybody can relate to that the amount of leads that had come in, they started to slow down just because there's a lot of uncertainty with what the rates were doing. And then everyone thought the rates were going to go down, and then they actually went up. So that caused a lot of people just to freeze in their tracks, worrying about like what's going to happen. But then the interest rates started to come down a little bit, and I'm in Canada, so our mortgages work a little bit differently than they do in the States. So, for example, in the States, I know you can get like a 30-year mortgage at that like 2% rate.
Ah,
Uh,
yeah,
and
okay.
then you have that.
2%, try like 6 or 7.
Yeah, but the people that got it, at the 2% rate, and they now have that for 30 years. So they're not moving because I think in your country, the mortgage is tied to the property.
I believe so. That could be the case. I mean, I don't have quite the 2%. I mean, there was an opportunity to refinance before things went up, and I did miss it. But at the same time, I have a 3.5, so I'm good for a little bit. I'm still paying off my mortgage on the current place that we're at. I mean, we're looking for something bigger, but then again, with the interest rates on one being higher, probably. I mean, if you go 15, you could probably find something around 5 or so.
If you sell your house, can you sell the interest rate that you got?
No. I
Okay,
think it's related to bank to a specific property. So you sign off on it. But if somebody buys a house from me, they have to secure money from the bank at whatever current rates that they
at the
can
current
get.
rate.
Right.
And if you move, then are you allowed to keep your rate?
Nope.
And so that's the
Same.
problem, right?
Yep.
That's the problem. So in Canada, it works a little bit different. If you move, you can take your mortgage with you to the new property and keep your rate.
Maybe I'll
Uh,
move to Canada
and
one of
then
these days.
the challenge is that we don't have true 30-year mortgages.
And now for a word from our sponsors. If you're a moving business owner, you may have already heard of Moversville, an email marketing service that helps moving companies increase, repeat, and referral business. But have you heard of Moversville Connect? Moversville Connect is an incredible resource for all things moving. They feature an array of vendors and services that cater specifically to the moving industry. You can find companies that provide moving software, moving sales services, marketing services, moving equipment providers, and much, much more. Visit moversville.com today to learn more.
Here you can get like a 30-year mortgage, but it renews every 5 years at the maximum. So
Wow, how does that happen?
so every 5 years you have to renew at whatever the current rates are.
That's if you haven't paid off, right? So yeah,
Right, yeah.
yeah, that would be a little crazy. So I mean, I'm set, but I obviously I can't do anything else there. The problem in US for most homeowners is this. Not only do you have higher interest rates, you got houses that are on the market for much higher than what they're worth. So you have houses that used to cost maybe about 400K that needed some work. And then you had some houses that cost 500K that maybe did not need any work or barely any work. But today, those initial homes that need work, those houses are costing 500, 550K. And the houses that don't need work are probably 600 plus. So that's the problem. The problem is that if you buy a house right now, it's in a couple of years when it crashes back to earth, you're not going to be able to get your money back, basically. So you got 2010 all over again. I know a bunch of people that bought their houses in 2010 that bought it on the top of the bubble, that bought these houses for maybe 350, 400K. And then when it came to them trying to sell it because they had I know some specific family that had some family issues. There were things that were happening there, foreclosure and what have you. And they could not get anybody to get that house for whatever. So they ended up being in a pretty bad way and pretty bad loss. So that's where we are with that market. But our goal today was to talk a little bit about taking the next step in your business and delegating some of your responsibilities to people that are going to run things for you, basically people that you can say, well, why did this happen? People to
Yeah,
run
like
things for you, basically, right?
yeah, and coming into this year, like where I was going with that is in Canada, 70% of mortgages renew this year. So it's been absolutely phenomenal with the amount of people that are relocating, thinking about moving. And so we've been growing and growing, hiring more and more people, buying more and more trucks. We've been opening up even additional like corporate locations as well. So what we're finding is that the growth that is happening now is going to be here for quite some time. And for me, like I've always been the CEO of the business and hiring people under me. But going back in time, I used to be doing everything, right? I'd be driving the trucks, I'd be on the forklift, I'd be answering the phones, I'd be doing on-site sales, I'd be ordering supplies. So I know my business like inside and out. And for a lot of people that are watching, they feel the same way, that they know their business inside and out and they do a lot of the things themselves. And for me, it ended up creating a ceiling that I can't grow my business beyond the amount of effort that I can put into it. And so I started to, hire more people to help me in different areas. Of course, everyone starts off with the bookkeeper because none of us really want to do math. Then you get the lead driver who is going to help take care of some of the moves for you. And as you grow your business, it just doesn't stop. So I was CEO and had like all of my things underneath me with like accounting, sales, human resources, marketing, and those areas ended up getting sourced out.
Hi, I'm Gary Bines, the CEO and founder of movinginsurance.com and Relocation Insurance Group. Would you like to secure every move with confidence and shield your company from claims while also increasing your revenues? With Relocation Insurance Group and movinginsurance.com, you and your customers can choose specialized insurance solutions for every step of the move. From moving insurance for household goods to fine art and commercial cargo, we cover it all across all 50 states. From an all-risk policy covering the entire shipment to only specific items to a total loss policy, you can count on us to protect your customers' valuables. Partner with us and benefit from our comprehensive programs managed by our expert team of insurance professionals. With the moving industry's leading moving insurance partner by your side, you can secure every move with confidence. And if you're wondering about compensation, the answer is yes, of course. You'll earn additional income for referring your customers who are interested in insurance. Join our network and let's make every move a success. Discover more with movinginsurance.com.
Then I realized where I really like to be, where do I really enjoy being is in strategy, solving problems that are bigger. Where are we going next? What's the direction that we're going and where do we really want to go? What I started to look at is, the CEO role that I have, it is another job that I can find somebody to take over for me. And then what does that leave me with is forming and running and being a part of a board of directors. And so I've been really digging into this lately, and it's really a fascinating subject for me because I never really saw that there's something above a CEO role in this business. There's really a big separation between the board of directors and the CEO. The CEO is dealing with like the management of the business, right?
Mhm.
And the board of directors is dealing with governance of the business. And so those two things, now the CEO reports to the board, and then the board approves things that the CEO is doing.
Right.
So I'm putting together right now a board of directors that we're going to be meeting quarterly. And these are people that know me, they know my business, but they have special areas that they deal with, right? So one is going to be a friend of mine, he's a CFO. So he's going to be on the board. So you want somebody in finance, another person in legal, another person strong in marketing. And so that's kind of what I'm doing right now this year, putting all that together, because that's going to be the next phase for me.
Now, keep in mind, guys, when we're talking about Lorne, so Lorne, how many locations? Well, you have your own locations, but how many franchise locations do you have? What's your reach right now?
We have right now 3 franchise owners. and then we have 3 corporate locations.
For a lot of you guys that are starting out or already started, we're talking about the next level. We're talking about once you've conquered your specific area or you feel like you have good handle on it, expand into new areas, go into new lanes where you're expanding your reach, where you have franchise opportunities and stuff like that. You're talking about a much overall stronger coverage over the area, whether it's a specific state, if we're talking about US, or if we're talking about Midwest or Southwest or whatever, or in Lorne's case, parts of Canada. So which parts of Canada are you currently reaching?
Yeah, right now we're only in Western Canada.
Right. So Western Canada, which provinces are we talking about?
British Columbia and Alberta.
Right. Which covers, you're talking about like cities of Edmonton and what have you, Vancouver and others. So there's how many, you have what, a few million people that live in those areas?
Yeah.
Right. So you have a pretty big reach. You're not talking about covering Cleveland, for example, right? So you're talking a pretty big area with a large amount of people obviously staying in that area or people moving out of the area or people moving into the area, right? So so you have a lot of things that are happening there. So we're talking about next level. Once you've got your business to a certain point, where do you go next? So next, beyond the CEO, you got the board of directors that Lorne is talking about. So you're talking about next level. Now, what besides so when you talk about governance and you're talking about that type of stuff of running your business, what are the board's goals for this year for Ferguson?
Well, like I said, I'm still forming the board at the moment, right? So
Okay.
it's just, this is all kind of new right now, and I'm a sponge. I'm learning from my business communities that I'm a part of, different CEOs. I'm a part of a networking group here, which is all CEOs, and going to different conferences on putting together a board. But the main idea for the governance part of the board is giving approval to the CEO on his or her plans for where the company is going to go. So if, for example, the CEO wanted to open up a location in Toronto, then they would put the whole plan together with the budget, and then that would all be reviewed by the board, questioned, and then it would be sanctioned by the board to go ahead. And then it's checking in again as needed on the progress of the plans. So it's an accountability it's the ultimate accountability for the business.
So what are your plans with it? What do you want to get out of it?
Well, I want to get growth out of the business, right? So I want the business to be opening up additional locations with centralized support and control. So we've already opened an office in a building, nothing to do with trucks or warehouses or anything. A lot of our staff are in there now we've got our controller in there, we've got our accountants in there, we've got our call center manager, our call center team, our CEO, we've got our director of operations in there. So all these people are in this one location. So for us,
Basically, you're building a central government.
Exactly, yeah. So as we're opening up additional locations, what we really need at those locations primarily is like operations.
Sounds interesting. Sounds like there was a lot. I mean, things are obviously complicated because you're talking about taking this to the next level where you're not no longer controlling one specific locations, where you're trying to manage this whole team. Now you got CEOs that have an autonomy to a degree. But
Yeah,
of course, if they want to do anything beyond the reach that you've built for them, they need to approach the board and say, okay, I have this idea for this location, or I want to expand this, or I want to get X amount of trucks, or I have this great marketing plan that I want to cover for this specific area. And
exactly.
basically, you guys approve it or you deny it. I mean, like I said, I understand you're still in the building process of this, but how do you see it? What would be your criteria for allowing a CEO to take, like I said, a leap of faith to a degree and do something that's unique or different or whatever?
We kind of have already in place different decisions that are based on different dollar amounts, right? Anything that is like smaller, let's call that like a leaf decision. So in a tree, you're going to pull off the leaf, it's not going to kill anything on the tree, right? And so there's a certain dollar amount associated to that. Then we got branch decisions. So if the CEO wanted to cut off a couple of branches on the tree, that's not going to really cause a lot of damage. So there's a certain dollar amount associated to that, certain criteria. But if the CEO wanted to chop down the tree, that's a bigger decision. That's going to require a larger amount of money. And that's really where the board would step in. So for example, if we're going to open up in a new city, then we want to see the entire plan for how's that going to affect, like what's the go-to-market strategy that we're going to review as the board and approve? What's the budget that's going to be required? Monitor that separate from the business. So if we approve a new city, then we're going to approve a dollar amount, and then that's going to be in a separate account that the CEO is going to be able to draw down from, and we'll be able to monitor that in monthly reports, quarterly meetings. That's really going to be something for me that's really exciting, because it's never as simple as you think whenever you're going to do something new. But you run into different things. Maybe there's different regulations in that city. Maybe there's different pricing structures. Maybe there's competition in that city that you overlooked. Maybe in that city, there's just not a lot of people that are moving like you thought there was going to be. There's just a lot of different challenges that go into
like the different marketing strategies. They're not going to all the same. It's kind of the same thing. Like if we're looking at lead providers and leads, certain lead providers work great in one market and they're non-existent in another. And
exactly.
it's like it's that. And what is it that I think you'd have to do a lot more. You really got to dig deep, because you got to find out what are these areas that uh what attracts people in this area? What's their big thing? Is there a big hockey team in the area? Of course, we're talking about Canada. There's a big hockey team in the area, like you're talking Edmonton, you're talking Edmonton Oilers, obviously in the Stanley Cup final right now, right? So you got that happening right now. So that area, people really care about the sports team. So if you can do something that's going to align your company with their sports interests, that may lead you to get a lot of clients versus not. This is different level, guys. So unless you are like, I understand the technical side of things that Lorne is talking about, but you're talking about having to have a staff person that's going to build projections for specific areas. You're talking statistics, you're talking microeconomics, you're talking about managing what is marketing going to do if you go this way, what is marketing going to do if you want to go that way. I would imagine that the strategy just to open up a new city, like what you're talking about, would have to be pretty extensive to build that case study. And it's hard for me to even really imagine how long that would take, because obviously with our business here and with our model here, we're not focused on a specific area. So to us, it doesn't matter. I mean, you have Canadian market versus US market versus UK market, which are the three markets that we're focused on, right? UK companies look at things differently than Canada and US. US and Canada are a lot closer, but then Canada, as far as moving goes, is less regulated than US. US is a lot more regulated than Canada is. So there's a lot of things to keep in mind when you're doing that stuff.
Yeah, and at the same time, like for anyone that's just starting out, or if they've got a smaller company, a lot of the stuff still applies to you, because you really want to have a good handle on your local area marketing, what is working and what's not. I spent a lot of wasted money in marketing programs that I wasn't paying attention to, that were not driving results to me. And it took me a long time to figure that out, that I was basically just lighting money on fire. So if you do have a smaller business, you still need to make sure that your marketing dollars are being spent in the right way. You still got to make sure that your labor percentage is hitting where you want it to be. You still have to monitor your claims percentage of, do you want to keep that under a certain percent of your revenue? All of this type of monitoring. And the neat thing is that if you have any level of staff, they can help you. And I think that's one of the biggest things that I could contribute to anyone that's listening, is lean on your team to help you to grow your business, no matter where you're at. Because if you try and do everything yourself, all you're really doing is bringing the ceiling down, as to how much growth that you can do. And if you can get someone to help you, you can lift that ceiling up even just a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the other thing too is that I find myself still on the phone in times. Granted, for my specific business model, that's probably more of a benefit, because I'm able to go to a new person or a new sales rep that I bring on and say, "Hey, this works. Trust me because I can do this and you can see what I can do." Right? So if you do what I do, you're going to be there, right? So I can use that to that extent. But when you're trying to grow things, it's kind of impossible because it's like, how much can I take on? You can't take on everything. It's physically impossible. I mean, I know one thing, if I didn't have Paul handling my marketing for me, you know, I wouldn't be able to do half of what I'm able to do if I didn't have him there. It's you definitely want to make sure you delegate certain responsibilities. But getting back to other things, when we're talking small companies and marketing dollars, there's so much marketing dollars that you have. And a lot of companies make a mistake in saying, okay, let's get cheaper leads, because we can afford them. But that's a wrong approach, because right now, if you buy lead provider leads, and of course we're seeing that in US a lot more because we have more lead provider companies than Canada has, for example. That market there is still, I believe, pretty much untapped in a lot of ways, right? But in US, you have so many lead provider companies now. Here's a reality. Some of these companies, they were all good when they started out.
Yeah.
When they started out. Today, these leads are going to 5, 7 companies, and it's diluted, and it's to the point where you're wasting your money. So what I found, I was working with a company in Ohio, and I'm still working with a company in Ohio. At one point, I said, don't buy any more lead provider leads. Just do mailers and just do Google. And you know what? We're killing it. Initially, if you look at it, it's a lot of money because you're spending maybe 50 to 100 to maybe a little bit more per lead. But if you consider that $5 to $10 leads, at this point, 30 to 40% of them are going to be junk. Even right now, in the month of June, 30 to 40% are junk, which we've never had that much junk before, right? So 30 to 40% are junk. Think about how much time your salespeople are spending calling that junk, wasting their time. Okay. You take that time out and you focus more on leads that are more expensive but better quality and more efficiency, and it's going to be worth the amount of money that you're putting in. So that goes back to marketing and allocating your dollars in the places that are better. Don't be afraid to take that chance, because ultimately, if you think of what you're wasting on low dollar leads that are not converting, you're going to spend that money anyway.
Yeah,
But
and
I'd rather have less leads, better quality, than more leads, junk.
I would imagine not only like the time you mentioned that your staff are spending on that, but it's also mentally bringing them down because they're getting rejected. And, I understand like salespeople need to be able to manage rejection. That's part of the job. But if you're saturating them in constant rejection with people that expected the marketing to do one thing and then the reality was different, then that can really kind of get under the skin of the salespeople. Then it sets them up for failure.
The other thing too is that you want to keep the good salespeople. Good salespeople want to make money. So if you're giving them junk, they're not going to make money. If they're not making money, they're going to leave and they're going to go where they can make money. Lorne has been in business how many years now, Lorne?
I started when I was 19, so I'm 50 now. So
Right.
30 years. Yeah.
Right. So 30 years in business. I have been in this for 20 years, so not quite as long as Lorne. Well, a little bit over 20. We're both seeing the same thing, is that ultimately to get there, okay, for a moving company, or in my case, a call center, right? To be able to produce, to be able to achieve its goals, you need to have good people in place. I need to have salespeople. You, as a moving company, mainly need to have you guys, but you also need, obviously, to have salespeople. If you don't have good people in place, your business is not going to grow. But for that matter, it can actually go downhill, because good movers want to be paid like good movers. They need to make money. They need to work. If they're not working, they're going to go elsewhere. Same goes with salespeople. Salespeople want to book jobs. If they're not booking, if they're not earning, they're going to go somewhere where they are. And if you don't have some good salespeople and good movers, your company is not going to have good reviews.
And
You're going to lose
started
business.
off I started off on the trucks, right, when I was 19. Started my first company when I was 20. Um, and like at one point I was sleeping on a friend's couch. Like I was homeless after some bad, some things went sideways on me. And my big goal back then for a couple of weeks was to make enough money so I could move into a youth hostel. So I know what it's like for being at the bottom and being a mover, struggling to try and build something. But one of the things that I quickly realized is the operations, the movers, they are the backbone of the sales team. If you don't have good movers doing a good job, your sales team can sell, but then your movers are going to destroy it out the back door.
Yeah, because they're not going to back up what the salespeople are selling.
Exactly. So, and I've just found over the years that if you have really good movers and they're doing a really good job and they're being paid really well and they're getting good reviews for your company, that's what's going to make the phone ring more than anything. A referral from a previous client is worth 1,000,000 times what a postcard is.
So yes, ultimately we can sell what we can sell, but the movers are the ones that back it up when they show up for a job. If they don't back us up, what good is our sales?
Yeah, exactly. So you get this nice little loop going in your business of, quality move. Then you get happy customer. Happy customer refers your business, and then that generates more leads. And of course, we're always going to get the new customers. I think there might be a little bit too much focus on that in our industry of always trying to find the new customer that hasn't moved with us before. What we try and focus on is building that long-term relationship with our customers. Like we don't want to just move you. We want to move you and all your friends. We want to move you and all your family.
Yeah.
We want to become your top of mind mover of choice.
Right, absolutely. And this leads me to something that I talk about all the time. There's some moving companies out there that think that you need to blast the customers with calls over and over and over again until they basically tell you to F off. Absolutely not. I'm 100% against that idea because you can't just think about booking immediate, right? What you got to think about is also long term. You never wanted to get to the F off point because now this is what's going to happen. Even if the company does, the person does not choose your company for a business, right? You want them to go away with a good impression. They're going to choose somebody, and let's say they did not have a very good experience with whoever they did end up choosing, right? What's going to happen? Their friends, their family, they're going to go to that person. They're going to say, hey, how did your move go? And this is along the lines of what you want to happen. You want them to say, oh man, I did not have the best of experiences. But you know what? During the process, I talked to this one guy from such and such company, and he was so attentive and he was so great that, now going back, I really wish that I would have just went with him, even though it cost a little bit more money. You know what? That person he's not moving right now, right? He may not move again for another year or 5 or whatever, right? But right now, all those people that asked him that question, and those people could be his family, his friends, his coworkers, his golf club or whatever he's part of, right? All those people would now ask for that one company that he's referring to that he did not use. And if you are that company, you just got all this extra business out of thin air, and this person never used you.
You must see this in your business all the time where people basically just phone you up with their credit card in their hand and say, hey, I moved with you guys before. I just want to get this done. Here's my address. I want you here on June 25th.
Those are freebies.
Yeah.
We call those freebies. And basically, I have a couple of reps that have been with me for a long time. So we opened into 2018, so going almost 6 years now. Well, specifically for moving sales professionals, I've been doing it longer. I have reps that have been with me for 5+ years at this point. They've been with us almost from the beginning, right? And they get probably at least 5 to 10 referral repeat customer moves every month on top of their regular stuff, right? And these are the people that move with these people, these sales reps set their original move up anywhere from 6 months ago to 5 years ago. So because I have people that stick and continue working with the same companies, we generally don't try. Why fix the good thing if it's working, right? So we get that happening all the time. They come in, and of course, every time that repeat customer calls, you bump it up a little bit. Don't give them the same thing that they used last time. Bump them up a little, $10 an hour, $20 an hour, because if they're calling you, they love everything that the guys did, and they understand if they have to pay a little bit extra because some time went by and the costs increase. Don't keep them at the same. You generally, I mean, you can always go back to it if you really have to, but usually you can bump it up without any problem. They love you. They're calling you back. They got their credit card in hand. They're ready to go.
I think for us, like it depends on how long ago did they move with us.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So if they moved with us 5 years ago, yeah, the rates have changed a little bit. But if they moved recently, we just normally keep it at the same price as what we did last time because that's part of the reason that they're calling back.
Yeah, but I'm a sales guy, so I'm
Okay.
gonna try. Here's my thing, okay? If I know that $165 an hour or whatever is the minimum, right? That I'm charging right now, I can always stay at that minimum, right? But if I start there, I really don't have any room to go down if the customer wants a discount and asks me for something, especially if it's a repeat.
Oh,
But
I
if I
see.
tell them that, you know what? Right now our price is 200 an hour, but since you're a repeat customer, I can do 185 for you, which is still $20 more than that 165 that you could actually charge. 9 out of 10 times they're going to say yes. Why not? Why not ask that question? I mean, they're paying for service. They know what they're getting. They were extremely happy with what they had before. They're willing to pay a little bit more to have that good experience again. And worst case scenario, what are you going to do? You're going to pull them on hold for 2 seconds, pretend that you're talking to a manager, and then drop it down halfway, drop it down to 175. Or if you really have to drop it back down to 165, but you're still not losing anything. You got places to go versus 165, and they're like, well, I really want a discount because I moved last time. Now you're gonna like, oh man, like now you're cutting into your bottom line as a sales guy, right? Now
Yeah,
you're not now like you're gonna make at that point you're making less commission than you would have otherwise.
I understand. Yeah, I see what you're saying. It's been a while since I've been like on the sales phones myself, but one of the main things that is still in place is having really good people listening to the client. And I think that's the number one thing is understanding what is being said to you and avoiding talking over the client, listening to them and finding out what's the most important thing to them. So if the most important thing to them isn't so much like the money of what it's going to cost that they're just going to go with you, they only want you, they want maybe this certain lead driver that was on there before if possible, or anything specific that they really want the same experience as last time. That's really where you can determine what's going to be the best thing. So I think for our sales staff, it's really making sure that they are caring about what is most important to the clients.
Right. And I agree with that. And once again, keep in mind that, I mean, the clients don't know what your current price is. So it's not, you're not being, you're building up. They know the value at this point. At this point, you don't
Right.
have to sell them on the value. So what you're really agreeing to at this point is strictly the price point.
Yeah.
What are they willing to pay to have that value at this point? And most of them, I mean, you know they're willing to pay what they paid last time. You know that 100%. So you got nothing to lose to start a little higher and have that little room. You can always go back to value point. They're willing to pay the value point without a problem. So are they willing to increase that value point by 10%, 15%, 20%? Probably.
Yeah, I understand. And it also depends on too, like the date that they're moving. Last time were they moving in the
Mhm.
middle of the month, and then this time they're moving at the end of the month. So there's a
Which you
lot
can always play with
of
that.
variables.
Is
Yeah,
it winter time that they moved last time? Is it summertime? Is it June? Is it September? Is it January?
yeah,
That of course January would be lower priced than even if your price right now is exactly the same as the January when they moved. But they don't know that. So and
right.
ultimately as a business, you're there to make money. You're not there to because realistically, for every person that you do upsell and raise your price on, there's going to be a bunch of people that you're going to end up having to give discounts to.
I think kind of the main message for the audience too is that you want consistency of your training to your staff.
Yes.
right? So if you're going to do things a certain way, you want to make sure all your staff are in alignment with that training. Otherwise, you're going to have conflict. If a customer phones in twice, talks to two different reps and gets two different stories as to how the process works in anything in your business. If one person says, oh, I think we give away free complimentary wardrobe boxes and complimentary mattress bags. Okay, cool. But if they call back and then they say, oh yeah, I'd like my complimentary wardrobe boxes and complimentary mattress bags, and the other sales rep says,
It's
oh,
not in tune with the program.
those aren't complimentary. We
But
charge.
I think that what I always taught my salespeople was basically we do not give anything out for free. Even if we can, even if the company tells me you can give 3 wardrobe boxes, or you can give this many boxes, or you can give free mattress covers or something like that. We do not have that. We do not, as far as I'm concerned, and as far as my salespeople are concerned, we don't have that unless you need something extra to push that customer over to say yes. If you need that extra to push the customer over to say yes, then use it. But don't use it just to use it. If they're already saying yes to you, what's the point of giving out free stuff? Keep in mind the other thing too, guys. The unfortunate reality is that damage does happen. So having those extra freebies that you can give out, but you don't, may be a good thing to have in your back pocket if something does happen. If damage does happen, you can say, oh, you know what? We're so sorry for that piece. And to make things more convenient for you, we're not going to charge you for the 3 wardrobe boxes that you used, which would save you whatever it is that you charge per wardrobe box, right?
Yeah.
Having that flexibility helps your moving company and helps your bottom line at the end of the day.
And see, all the kind of things that we're talking about now, it really comes down to what is your processes for your business. If you can document all these processes, hand them out, train on them, and then reinforce them as needed, you're going to sleep a lot better at night as the owner of the business.
Absolutely.
You're not going to get a customer upset phoning you and saying, oh, your sales rep said I could have the move for free because there was some damages on the move. Like, oh, now you're obligated to give that customer the job for free because your employee did that, and now you have to deal with the fallout of it, and that could be a very expensive thing.
But that's basically what we're talking about is also what I do teach my sales reps, that they know that they have that, but you use that as a last resort. You're not using that as a first thing. And frankly, you're not going to get it from any of my competitors. You're not going to get that kind of training. You won't. Because here we are very much focused on helping you grow your company because we're interested in being your sales team way down the road. When you go from your 1 truck to 10, we want to be there when you get to 10. We want to be there that whole process, that whole way to get you there. But anyway, guys, as I always say, I'm not here to promote myself. I'm really not. We talk about the industry more so than anything else. If you guys want to talk about things, you know how to reach me. But other than that, we want to talk to guys like Lorne who have all this wealth of experience that we appreciate him joining us so much and being able to impart that wisdom. And in this case, really telling you where you as CEOs can go next. You can make your plans even and think about, okay, where am I going to be in 10 years? Well, now you have another avenue, right? You have another level that you can reach besides just hitting your head against that ceiling as a CEO. I certainly did that as a sales guy until I opened up this company, right? So I was also hitting the ceiling.
How long have you had your company running now?
Since 2018, October.
Nice. Yeah.
But before that, I started doing sales for moving companies in 2003. So from 2003 to 2018, you're talking about 15 years of being a sales manager and working in call centers even before I got into moving. That's why I'd like to say that I'm very good at picking out talent to do this work.
And having a company like yours too, I think a lot of like sales is something people have a really hard time letting go of. So maybe what is your process for when you're dealing with somebody that's new to you, exploring this? Let's say they've got 2 trucks, they've been doing sales themselves, they're considering using you. Like, what's your interview process like for onboarding?
Well, Right now, our processes are changing a little bit, and our training right now is, we're not paying for training right now. We're not putting a time period on it. It all depends on the person and how quickly they pick up things, how quickly they're able to adjust, how quickly do we feel comfortable putting them on the phone that they're going to do what we're asking. So that's one thing. The other thing is, frankly, I'm looking for a person that has sales in their head. In some cases, it may be somebody that's never done sales before, right? But they have a natural knack for it. A lot of people need to realize is that there's a big difference between a salesperson and a customer service person. A customer service person is going to say, when somebody tells them that they're already booked, they're going to say, oh, no problem. Have a nice day. Keep us in mind next time. That's going to be a customer service person. A salesperson is going to ask a question. A salesperson is going to say, oh, really? Well, that's great. What are they offering you? Or what are they not offering you that you really want it to be done for you? Those questions could be a difference between 5, 10, or more additional jobs every single month. If
So
salespeople don't ask those questions, they're leaving money on the table every time.
it's the questions that you ask that make the big difference. And when you ask the questions, like the timing of the questions. Also, like not fighting with the customer too. Like one of the things you said is, okay, I understand, right? You're empathizing with them. You're lowering their guard, their defenses, right? You say, oh, okay, I understand. That makes sense. And then their wall goes down. Now you can ask the question without it being hitting some sort of a wall that you can't get through. But
Absolutely.
if you have like a company coming to you and that company has just like 2 or 3 trucks and they're considering, your business to take over their sales because the owner's been doing it himself, what's kind of your onboarding process there for those smaller companies?
We don't really have a limit. So we have companies that have 1 truck. We have companies that have 10 trucks or 20 trucks or whatever. There's not really we can cover it all. But I think the main thing for me is that I want the company owner to care about their brand. I want them to care about their customers and I want them to be interested in building something long term. I don't want companies that want to switch their names 5 times. I don't want the companies that are going to mistreat the customers and think about getting that extra $200 today versus that 400, 500, thousands of dollars down the road because of repeat business or referrals or whatever. You want somebody that's looking to do that. The other part, to be honest with you, we're good at what we do. I'm good at what I do. If you're going to work with me, I need you to give me a benefit of a doubt for at least a period of time. Let me do things for you. Let me show what we can do for you our way first. You're coming to me, that means you need the service. You're coming to me, that means that whatever you're doing is not working. So if you need something to change, you need to give a little bit of control away because when you've had all the control in your fingertips, it did not change. It did not work. So maybe you need to give that control away to see better results. And to me, also, to be frank, just because a salesperson went a couple of days without booking a job, that does not mean that they're not doing their job. Because to me, it's about building relationships. It's about is the salesperson getting inventories? Are they building relationships? Are they following up? Are they having meaningful conversations? If there are no meaningful conversations, that's another story. If they're dropping the ball, that's another story. But if those conversations are taking place, if quotes are being given, if inventory is being taken, they're doing what they're supposed to do. And what that means is that while that may not turn into book job today or tomorrow, it will down the road. And those people that they've been talking to, they're going to be closing. They're going to be booking. The question is when, not if. So you got to you got to look at that because what a lot of moving companies look at, they're looking, what have you booked for me today? But it's not always about that. It's a little bit more long term because you got to remember, we have people that are contacting us that are looking to move 3 months, 6 months, 8 months, a year from now sometimes. Most of those people are not going to book today when they are not moving for 3 months. I mean, you'll get those now and then that are procrastinators. They're not procrastinators. They're people that are planners, right? They want things planned 3 months out. You will get jobs like that. I have jobs like that right now that are not even moving until September, October, that I have on the board, that are already booked, I already put down their deposit, right? And then you will have people that are going to be last minute. So, but you got to look at the whole picture. It's not, some of them will book right away, some of them don't, and that doesn't mean that the sales rep is not good. In a lot of cases, if you make that extra push, you will lose that customer, and you will leave bad taste in their mouth on top of that, which is what you don't want.
So how many CRMs do you guys know?
Probably at least 10, if not more.
Wow.
We know a few that are in UK that nobody uses here, too.
That must be hard for you to track or train.
No. I mean, honestly, every moving CRM does the same thing ultimately. Okay. You need to be able to quote. You need to be able to take an inventory. You need to be able to contact the customer, email, text. You need to be able to put it on the calendar. You need to be able to do all that. All of them do this. It looks different. Interface is different. There's different places that different things are, but ultimately they all do the same thing. So if they all do the same thing, the first time you look at a new CRM that you've never looked at before, you just go, okay, where do I do this?
Which CRM does your staff prefer?
We have, I mean, I'll tell you which ones I prefer. So I have top three. Okay. I like the moving software, which not a lot of companies have. It's mainly here local to us in Maryland. I know the CEO. You've met him before, Lorne. So I like that CRM. I do. I think it has a lot of potential, and they're working on an upgrade. I have no idea when that's coming, but they're working on it. I like the old move board. I don't like the new one. I've seen the new one. I don't like it. I like the old move board. Okay. I like the way that it works. I like the way that it's set up. I use it often. Uh, and I like smart moving. Those are my top three. But ultimately, we can use anything. I mean, we use Granite, we use Move It Pro, we use the old Move It Pro where you have to download it. It's like Move It Pro Pentacles. You have to download it. So yeah, there was another one that I used to know that I've used years ago that was also downloadable. But for that one, you literally had to have a computer, the main computer, on at all times. And if that thing got shut down, you couldn't use the software.
So do you have any customers that don't use a CRM?
No.
Okay, they're all on that.
I tell them all you have to use a CRM. I don't care which one, but I tell them all that they have to use it.
Right. And so that must mean that you're also able to help companies get into a CRM if they haven't been using one.
Yeah. I mean, I give them option. I tell them what we like. In some cases, I can show them what it looks like. And I'm certainly, if you guys are a CRM company and you want me to take a look at what you have, and I'll take a quick peek. Why not? Send me a demo. I'll take a look and I'll tell you what I like and I'll tell you what I don't like without giving anybody else's secrets out. But I'll tell you what you need from a sales perspective. I mean, I can't. There's a lot of things I probably can't tell you from terms of operations or from a guy on a truck. But from a sales perspective, I can tell you what we need.
What is it that you really look for in the sales perspective? Is it like intuitiveness? Is it ease of use?
My whole thing have always been I don't want to put a customer on hold for too long. I don't want to ever to tell them that I'm going to call them back with a quote. I never want to do that. I want to do that as I'm on the phone with the customer. I want to put them on hold for 2 seconds. If it's a big quote, I want to work it up right there and then before they get off the phone. And I want to quote it right there and then before I get off the phone. That's what they're looking for. And because realistically, if I let them go, I may never get them on the phone again.
So do you find that customers are okay being on hold for 5 minutes?
Yes.
Okay.
I do. I mean, they like it less, but usually if it's taking me longer than 2 minutes to work their stuff up, I'd pick up the phone again and I'd say, I'm still working on this. Please, can you please give me a couple of more minutes? And they usually say, okay. As long as they're not feeling like they're holding for too long, like it's been 10, I never go 10 minutes. So
Right.
I usually work it up as they're on the phone. I usually don't even have to put them on hold in most cases. It's like if it's a really massive job or something like that. And there's a lot of technicalities that are happening that really need to be where I need to pick up the phone and call the owner and say, hey, can you look at this? We got this, this, and this. This is unique. This is unique. Can we do this? Can we do that? I mean, I'm pretty creative when it comes to things. So I usually, what I'm calling the owner, I already have ideas in my head about how we can handle a specific situation. So I'm
Right.
already giving him, well, how do you feel about this, this, and this? And 9 out of 10 times they tell me yes, because I pick it up pretty quickly. I mean, it's fun for me. I'm a pretty creative person, I think. So, it's yeah, I like to do those type of things. It's interesting for me.
Nice,
But
nice.
yeah, it's generally fun, and I generally don't have them on hold for too long. But yeah, I mean, the softwares that make this that process to be able to do all that easier, make it easier. That's why I'm not a big fan of Granite, because Granite has too many screens that you have to go through before you can do things. You have to go through a bunch of places if you're taking if it's a call in and you have to take them from the call until the quote, it takes longer than other softwares.
And that's the difference between a salesperson and a developer. A developer doesn't see that experience being any kind of a problem.
Hmm.
Click on 14 different tabs. Each one's going to serve a different function. Like they're gonna see how it all ties in together nicely
Hmm.
on their end.
Hmm.
But they don't see that the customer is getting frustrated.
Hmm.
They don't want to deal with you. They've got a screaming baby in the other room. They want
Hmm.
to get off the phone
Right.
as quickly as
Yeah, you
possible.
want it smooth. You want that part smooth, and you want to be able to do that stuff quickly.
You don't want
That's
the
why.
technology to get in the way of
Yeah,
the sale.
exactly. Absolutely. But Lauren, we've been on to talking for a while, and obviously we don't want you guys to be bored. Thank you once again, Lauren, very much for joining us.
Yeah,
And
thanks
as
for
I
having me
always
on,
say,
Yuriy.
the world moves on its own, so let the professionals move yours for you. So thank you very much for joining us. Please like, please subscribe, please check out Ferguson. And once again, thank you so much for joining us. We'll talk again soon.